Welcome to another episode of Voices from the Touchline, where we explore the journeys of coaches shaping the future of the game. Today, I'm joined by a coach who has dedicated his career to one of the most unique, demanding, and often misunderstood positions in football, the goalkeeper. My guest, Dan Crofts, is a UEFA licensed goalkeeping coach with experience across academy and first team levels in English football. He has led goalkeeping departments at clubs like Blackpool, Blackburn Rovers, Filed, and now Wigan Athletic, where he works with both the academy and senior goalkeepers. Dan has been instrumental in designing long-term goalkeeper development curriculums from under 9 all the way to under 21, and he's played a key role in the rise of several goalkeepers to professional contracts and even England youth national teams. Most recently, he was part of the coaching journey that saw Sam Tickle make his England U21 debut and earn Player of the Year at Wigan, while also supporting the development of Tom Watson, who was called up to an England under 21 development camp. He's a coach who blends technical detail with psychological resilience and who understands how to align goalkeeper development with the bigger picture of a club's philosophy. Our conversation today is titled From Grassroots to England Under 21s, Developing the Complete Goalkeeper. Dan, welcome to the show. It's fantastic having you here.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I mean, what an introduction that is, by the way. I think I've just blushed listening to that, but I do appreciate the introduction. Thank you.
Wonderful having you. So let's get going then. So your coaching journey spans academy to first team level. So how do your methods evolve across age groups and competitive levels?
Yes, I think obviously within that question, I think it's such a powerful question in terms of that it's such a big thing. So from my beliefs, it's really important that it's even whether it's first team or academy is to enjoy it still. So I mean, my first team role was a massive eye opener to that, where I kind of came in and made sure that me and the goalkeeper who was there, who was a very experienced goalkeeper, a fantastic human, got on really well with him as a person, and we had such success together. And I think that really kind of helped shape that. Whilst I always had the belief of enjoyment and the environment being really positive, but actually you can still apply that to first team. Now, of course, obviously it was National League North at the time up to National League, which is still an amazing level of football, especially in the English League. It's a lot of professional teams. So it was really important for me to see that if I could keep it enjoyable still, we still reap rewards. So yes, okay, on one hand, that works with younger boys and they have to enjoy it to increase their learning and consolidate their learning. But actually, you can still do that at first team. So how are they feeling? How are you making them feel? What are their emotions? How do you help manage those emotions? And how do you ultimately provide the best platform for them to perform? Whether that's under nines, pre-academy to first team level. I think it's been a really, really good journey so far. As they're still very young, although I don't look it. But obviously, I'm only 29, so it's really important to understand that I'm still completely on this journey and dedicated to it. Yeah, no, been an amazing kind of 10 years or so. Especially like you said in the introduction, obviously a little bit misunderstood sometimes, and you still get the looks around the corner from the manager when something goes wrong, and you go, "Oh yeah, maybe that is that me? Is that?" But no, it's a brilliant place to be. Brilliant role. Yeah, no,
De-
been top so far.
yep, definitely. And what's unique is that you've worked with goalkeepers who have reached the England setup, so national team level. So, in your opinion, what separates elite goalkeepers from the rest at a development stage?
Yeah, I think I have one massive one massive key area. I think of that, and it's the intensity of them. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be intensity on the pitch. I mean, sometimes that is applicable to one in particular who I can think of who's just represented our under 18s and under 19s national team. His intensity was unbelievable on the pitch. It would be more repetition, more questions, more inquisition around why I'm asking him to do things, and listen, he was surrounded with a fantastic coaching group when I was there. Again, I don't accredit myself to have been a massive influence on him, but what it has done is it's allowed me to have a barometer of what that success looks like and what that looks like going forward, so I can spot those kind of indicators from the goalkeepers I work with consistently, and it kind of gives me a little baseline of, well, this is where this person ended up, and now it's important that we try and get this person because they have the same qualities, whether it's obsessed with the gym and the physical development, whether it's on the pitch or whether it's in the analysis department and it's watching clip after clip after clip. And and really important that we identify that intensity and work with it. Don't see it as a burden, because at the start of my coaching journey, I thought, oh, this is really painful. He's always asking for this, he's always asking for this. But actually, when you come away from it and you kind of open your eyes a little bit more, you go, yeah, that's the level, really. So that is definitely something I would testify to kind of jumping onto that level. In my opinion, anyway, of course.
So basically, from my understanding, the dedication is a key aspect to deciding who's going
Yeah,
to really make it to the top.
that's it. I mean, ultimately, if you look at it, you know the percentages yourself, and it's like 0.015 make it to that level anyway. But then you put how many goalkeepers, because there's only ever going to be one or two or three per squad. You then short that down to, well, it's probably even less for us. I know there are less of us, but also there's less positions to attain. So whenever you're not working, there'll be a goalkeeper somewhere else that will be working, and it's those bits where you go, they're the ones getting little 1% ahead of you, and then ultimately that is where they end up. Again, the three that have gone on to represent the youth national teams, they've all had the same attributes. May not have been in the same area, may not have always been on the pitch, but actually it's either been in the gym or in the classroom with the analysis, like I've mentioned. So, yeah, I think intensity is so important as a character.
Right. So a follow-up question now. Since we have spoken about goalkeepers who have played at the youth national level, so at Wigan you've worked with Sam Tickle. So what specific training or mindset shifts helped unlock his performance at such a high level?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to come in kind of, well, 18 months ago, really, when Sam was already certainly on his way to the peak of his powers. And to be honest, I don't think he's done yet. I think he's still got more. And you look at the level he is. I mean, I don't know if you managed to watch the game at the weekend, but his assist to the centre forward is outrageous. And that's what he is. He's an unbelievable talent for the age he is. I worked with him mainly when I was with Jack Cudworth, who was at Wigan. Again, me and him formed an amazing relationship. Obviously, he got me involved quite quickly. Worked really well together, and was really, really pleased and grateful to be able to work with Sam and Tom and the other boys there as well. Ben Amos was there at the time as well, and again, just a fantastic professional. But yeah, going back to Sam, just incredibly dedicated to his craft, constantly working. I was led to believe that before I arrived, and when he had his scholar and his kind of young, well, he's obviously still a very young pro now, but when he had his scholar and pro, he was incredibly dedicated to the gym, and you look at the dividends that pays now. He's a fantastic athlete as well, which I think we will get into that soon, but that is the way the game's going. You do have to be athletic and be able to be a good mover to get to the top level. I think Sam's definitely that, and he keeps developing year on year and year. And again, you look at him this year, and his in possession's been outstanding. Again with the assist, but then again, reliable as ever. Some fantastic saves, makes brilliant saves, big saves. They call it as the English FA. That's one of the characteristics is do they make big saves? So it can be result defining saves or unexpected saves, and he does that in abundance. So yeah, I think again his mindset very similar to what we spoke about previously around intensity. But also he knows he knows exactly what he needs to do. He's very switched on in that regard. Yeah, no, he's been a pleasure to work with. He's guided. He's had some excellent coaches. He's being guided by one now in the first team goalkeeping coach at Wigan now, Tony, who's brilliant as well. So yeah, no, he's in a really good place at the minute, and long may that continue.
Definitely, definitely. And now speaking more about your role, so you have experience with curriculums as well. So how do you integrate in possession and out of possession models into your goalkeeping curriculum?
Good. We'll always be like it's like a multifaceted approach. So we'll have our set out of possession themes. So I'll learn it off. Well, but I've taken this from another club, someone who I admire greatly, as the lead goalkeeping coach there. So we kind of shift it down to three. So you've got effectiveness, which is desire to keep the ball out the goal; aggressiveness, which then protects the area and you're looking to dominate crosses, cutbacks, etc. And then proactiveness, so defending the sweeper keeper, as they call it, or which obviously definitely is now more prevalent in the game. So we always kind of focus on those things, and we kind of reverse engineer those those ideologies, and we go, right, well, what does effectiveness look like in the goal? Okay, so it's going to be shot stopping, and that's so important. It look like reaction saves, but then also on the other side of that, how does that work in possession as well? So once we've secured the ball, we then can't neglect that. We have to make sure that we're building within both. So hopefully the practices that people see at Wigan with myself, and they'll always have that kind of that double-edged, so that it's working with, we're in possession at some point, we're out of possession, and then once we've kind of secured our out of possession, we're then back into in possession. So we're having always that kind of two-pronged attack towards sessions, which again is so important, because you look at, again, I'll mention the assist again at the weekend, but Sam, who played beyond unbelievably well for the assist, again, it was effectiveness, made a save, and then obviously with the distribution. So again, you're looking at that is the game. So he's gone from his effectiveness, which is what I call it, and we call it at Wigan in the academy, and then he's gone from effectiveness, so he's protected the goal, and then on the transition, obviously he's played a magnificent pass through to the centre forward who scored. So we played beyond excellently. So that again, that is walking proof of and living proof of why we need to be looking at things like that, because you could be such a tool now, especially if you're effective. We've got some outstanding distributors at the football club. They are the first line of attack. So it's so important. I mean, we've got a boy in the under-18s who's fantastic at playing beyond and playing onto and playing into. And then we've got another boy who's just come back off loan who, again, very similar, can play into and onto exceptionally well and can play beyond. He's a little bit sharper in playing through as well now, which is great. So again, you're almost like the first point of attack as well at times. So you can't just neglect that, like I said before. So yeah, no, it's and again, it's important to have people that believe in what you do. So I know it's slightly off topic in terms of the curriculum, but the curriculum's been allowed to be put in place by myself, and no one kind of challenges it, because they have the trust and the understanding of it, and then that you need people around you that will back you, rather than it being kind of an autonomy where they're going, this is what you must deliver. It's excellent. It's an outstanding place, obviously, a place of work, for that exact reason, for the autonomy that you do get as an individual.
I like how you've emphasized on the distribution part. So it's common knowledge now that the modern day goalkeeper has to almost be as good as an outfield player with his feet. So how do you coach your goalkeepers to execute that under pressure?
Yeah, so again, that's probably just a more multidisciplinary teamwork. So again, working with the outfield coaches. So we will never have kind of 12 players to replicate real pressure at a time. So it's important that we get the technical base work and a little bit of pressure applied, of course, within our practices. But then it's working with the outfield coaches and going, right, well, this is what I'm after today from my goalkeepers. How can we recreate that as a group, whether it looks like an 11v11 a practice game, whether it looks like a phase or a function? We then look at how that works so that we can get the best out of what we all need. So then I've got my own individual targets for the goalkeepers to make sure that they're hitting. So it may be that they have to start a little bit different in terms of the start positions, or we're really isolating their support positions when they're in possession, support position when they're out of possession. So again, I think it's for you to get the realism of the game as best as you can, is you do need to work as a group, and so obviously we're the professional development phase staff at Wigan. So there's 3 other full-time members of staff, coaches. So we'll sit down in the morning with the sports science team and the physiotherapists as well, and make sure that we're kind of all aligned of what we're after. And then we get that from there. Of course, the techniques will come from the little bits that we do in our own time, and we'll work on them specifically. But then when we really get going in the full sessions as a whole group, that's when we can get the pressure element added, and that's where we see the work that we've kind of done over the last block that we've done by ourselves, how that then affects the 11v11 or session with the outfield group as well.
Definitely. And I've also done a bit of research on you. You're big on analysis, so you've used tools like HUDL and Wyscout for analysis. So how does video and data influence your session planning and feedback loops?
Yeah, so we're very lucky in terms of the analysts that we do have at Wigan. So they're excellent in terms of what they provide us with. So obviously we do have Wyscout, so that's been a great tool for us. We've just sent a boy who's now just returned, but we sent the boy out on loan to National League North, which is all their footage is available to us on using that. You can get little bits of statistics from them. Hiding place from it. It's very objective. It's very black and white. So I have great conversations with our goalkeeper at his distribution over distance. So playing onto and into, we'll often speak about that and how that needs to be really, really good to succeed and to develop further. And we can sit down and look at use of successful passes to that area. We put them together. We put down his save percentages, his pass completion percentage. So I think that really allows you to shape and is very prevalent in where actually they need development. So of course everyone will have their own opinions and right, wrong, or indifferent, they'll have their opinions. But ultimately, if we can, as a group at Wigan, if we can say, listen, we know that you're getting 45% pass completion to the top line, we know we need to work on that. So, and it's very black and white. You get that's I believe how you get buy-in, because I put the work in and we've put the work in as analysts to provide that data for the player. So therefore, the player then respects the work that's got in. And again, there isn't a hiding place. Of course, there's subjective moments within kicking, whether the player should have won the first contact or not. But if you treat it for what it is and you treat it objectively, then there's no hiding place for it, which is really important, because ultimately we want the best for them, and that aids us in us being the best for them as well.
Well, I'm sure the objective lens brings us to you having a strong IDP for goalkeepers. So I was inquisitive to know, what does your IDP for goalkeepers usually look like, and how do you measure the success?
Yeah, so very similar to obviously what we were speaking about there in terms of it being objective. So we measure their success based off objective data. So whether that's it is inclusive of XG. So obviously we know what that is, and we make sure that we're trying to operators go, if they do go in, then we're accepting of that because they're high opportunity chances. And then obviously the 0.05, how can we defend them? Of course, sometimes there's outrageous strikes. Hold your hands up and go, yeah, that's amazing. But ultimately, with our ILPs and our IDPs, so obviously all our boys from under 9s to under 21, have got the IDPs, and of course it looks very different ones, because ultimately they're still finding the way. And as much as some of them are, but they're still so young and they've only kind of just started out with us, really. So for us, it's important for them to still enjoy the game, still make sure that they're benefiting from it and still loving it, because I have seen goalkeepers come out of the game because they just don't love being goalkeepers at 13, 14, 15, 16. So how do we motivate them to do it? Because it can be quite a tough position. We all know that. It can be quite a deflating position for sure. So when it comes to the IDP, can we make it fun and entertaining and engaging, and then really dive in with the player about what little bits we're going to pick up with? So we have a sheet, for example, ours is, we'll have 2 primary strengths and 2 areas for development, and that'll be technically, that'll be tactically, that'll be psychologically and socially, and that'll be physically as well. So again, that kind of whole department feel of us working sports science to make sure that, our goalkeepers, we're very lucky with our sports scientists that we've got, because they're very inclusive of our goalkeepers. So we'll have testing days as a group, which allows us that data again, further that use of the word again, for us to make sure we're planning forward for them and what that looks like for them going forward. Again, we use like the peak height velocity, so we know when goalkeepers going through growth. So we then know to be a little bit patient and how to deal with that. So yeah, again, listen, as much as it is, it looks very it looks a very about me podcast. Whilst obviously it is goalkeeping, the work is phenomenal, credited to anyone. Everyone is accredited to everyone's success, because we've all played a small part. Obviously, we're a fantastic football club for doing so. Obviously, we've had an enormous amount of debutants. We've had more debutants this year. Last year, we were the leading EFL club for minutes provided by academy graduates. So again, you look at where we are, and you look at the IDPs we put in place. You look at the group effort that we put into Monumental. So yeah, it's really important, the IDPs, circling back to that, but also treat them loosely in terms of let's still make sure the game's fun, especially goalkeeping. Still make it engaging. Is it still fun? And then go from there, really.
100%. You've witnessed a lot of goalkeepers, go up the groups, and some of them, of course, have some wonderful careers. So, what should coaches be focusing on when they're working with players who are transitioning into men's senior football?
Sorry, is this for the goalkeeping?
Yes, just for the goalkeepers.
Yeah. So is it? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. The loan pathways. Yeah. So I think ultimately for us, it's important for us to provide the pathway for one, because ultimately it opens up you start then. It starts really mattering about 3 points on a weekend. So the quicker they can understand that then leads into a whole plethora of other things in terms of it's people's livelihoods, it's people's income that they are playing for. So, if, for example, if you're relegated, sometimes there is a chance where your income is damaged by the relegation. So for us, it's important that our boys are exposed to that, because that's how much it means to people. And again, of course, the pride of not being relegated. So, I mean, we've just had a fantastic loan with our under-21. Went to National League North as his first men's senior team loan, which was amazing. Kind of had 8 consecutive starts. He won Player of the Month. It was a fantastic loan for him. And again, he's kind of come back and seen the real value of it. So it's having to deal with a different way of playing as well. So for us, at Wigan, we're kind of very pragmatic in our approach. We'll play into spaces, whether that's playing out from the back or whether that's playing into space in behind. Whereas when you go to a different club, you end up having to play their way. And this particular way was playing into spaces consistently. So it was good for him because he has to learn different ways of doing things, and very similar, which sets him up to, I mean, if you change manager, the manager will change how he sets up and how he plays and what his biases are in terms of football. So really important you get exposed to that, which I think's huge. And I think thankfully he has come a long way from, which is so important. So important.
Yes, you've touched on the realities of football clubs and how incomes are determined based on the performance. But then you see with goalkeeping, I mean, the nature of the position is such that you're known for your mistakes more than the good things you do. So then, in terms of mental resilience, how do you help goalkeepers deal with setbacks and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think what we have to understand with it is that there are going to be mistakes that will, whether, I mean, you watch the best in the world will still make errors. So they have to understand the position that they're in, and that has to be done from an early age. That you are in an error-prone position, and I don't mean that as an individual, but unfortunately, when you do make an error as a goalkeeper, a large amount of time it does result in a goal. So obviously, it's quite defining in terms of what that mistake leads to. So for us, it's the conversations of, listen, it's going to happen, but then, like you said, then it's how you manage that. So we'll have different strategies of doing it. We'll make sure we're massive on just letting it go. There's nothing in that moment that we can do. That's happened now. What we can do is we can look at it back and watch it back together and analyse it, and then go from there how it's not going to happen again. But in that immediate time, I can't stress enough to our goalkeepers that moment's gone. That you can't control that anymore. If you can control the controllables, that's fantastic. But that no longer becomes a controllable then. It becomes an uncontrollable. So just leave it at the door. And then, because what you can see is obviously people who don't leave it at the door, it kind of goes and goes and goes and goes, and you end up making a lot of other mistakes. So for us, it's chats. A lot of the time, it's little arms around the shoulder and just little chats around the position and what's going to happen and how we manage that. And then other times, it's just preparation for. So I mean, ultimately, I will look at myself first in any mistake, because I think always you'll go, how have I prepared them properly? Have I shown them this picture? So if we're playing a team and they're very decisive in the way they attack, our goalkeepers needs to know that pattern. So have I shown them the pattern correctly? Have I done that enough? And And I think because we're there with them and we're so invested in them and so like we're involved with everything with them, I think it's kind of a bit of a burden that we all share. So I think it's not as heavy because it's shared with all of us. As they say, it's the goalkeeping union. So really important that we kind of share it as a group, but we learn from it. It's a powerful tool to learn. Any kind of mistake is a powerful tool to learn from. So it's important that we do that, and we see it as a positive when we're younger, because that is you build up an experience of what that looks like, and that decision you make that led to a wrong outcome. The next time that outcome that opportunity arises, that you made a wrong decision before, so the opposite decision will probably be right in that moment. So then hopefully we can use that as learning. I think they call it vicarious experiences, just building up that plethora of moments in your head of what you did at this moment to get a positive outcome, or what you did in this moment to get a negative outcome, and going from there and using it as learning tools. That's all it is.
I really enjoyed the fact that you said if a goalkeeper does make a error, then you also like to have a look at, whether as a goalkeeping coach one has prepared him enough. So that's big. That's a key message. And now, as a leader of multidisciplinary teams, how do you ensure goalkeeping is integrated effectively within the broader club philosophy?
Massively, I think we are a big part of it. Like I said to you right at the start of the podcast, in terms of we can be the first point of attack as well. So it is important that they're kind of integrated, and I think we're very fortunate, or I'm definitely very fortunate to be where I am with a great set of team, a great set of staff that work in sports science, that work obviously as part-time goalkeeper coaches for the football club. We're all making sure we're aligned. So I think being multidisciplinary is so important because it goes for the pre-act. So injury prevention work, that's obviously all led by sports scientists, making sure that they're doing the right things so that they can actually stay on the grass with us. That's one thing that's massively important. And again, we've got two fantastic sports science staff in the PDP that do a fantastic job of it. Then it goes into obviously the work that we do as a collective, but that again, being inquisitive to our boys as well. So by no means am I anywhere near finished on my journey. So it's important that I get reflections from the goalkeepers themselves, whether it's in my practice, about my practices, about the intensity that we've trained at, about the standard of the service that we're at. So you're still kind of getting feedback from them as well, which I believe they're part of like the multidisciplinary team that I work with, because they're really good sounding boards. They're open to trying new things. They'll have discussions. They're a real positive impact. All of them that I work with are really good at asking questions and being inquisitive, and they've helped me learn so much. Most importantly, so whilst they're not coaches, they're also very high level goalkeepers. So they've helped me learn a load, because I never played to a massive level. I played non-league for a little bit, so I never played at some of the amazing clubs that the boys that I work with have. So it's really important that I buy into their experiences, and then that can help influence my coaching. And then going ahead to obviously the outfield coaches, so then blending in with them, what their needs are, what they're after from our goalkeepers. Again, and they have to buy in. And we use an analogy of a chef, really. We're all chefs and we're giving them different ingredients, but they've got to choose the ingredients that fix for them to make them the best goalkeeper. So again, they've all had outstanding goalkeeping coaches before myself. So it's really important that they take what's been previously taught to them, but also with a bit of my advice and my technique and everything else, and then how they blend that together to become the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And now, we're unfortunately coming close to the end of the podcast. However, it'll be interesting to know from you, since you've worked as a goalkeeping coach for so long. What changes do you see coming in the goalkeeper role going into the future?
Yeah, I think it's very much a cycle, really. I mean, ultimately, we're seeing at the minute so many aggressive teams in the press that ultimately it'll be. I do think at some point it's going to be reverting to playing in spaces again and playing long and not necessarily playing out as much. But then again, in 15 years, we may revert back to playing out. So I think the best thing that we can do, because especially what I've seen in terms of my lifespan and in how I'm goalkeeping's changed, is ultimately I've seen teams just boom it to a big man, and then I've seen the kind of birth of the playing out from the back and everything else. So I think it's a great time for me because I've seen both, and we can work with both, because ultimately every manager is going to have their own philosophy and how they want to work. So it's how we can prepare goalkeepers holistically to make sure that it works for them. So they can be a chameleon in any kind of team. So if they're asked to boom it, we can boom it. If they need to play into spaces, they can play into spaces, or if they need to build, they can build. So it's definitely going to influence my coaching, and I do think we'll see a big change in a few years' time, where we go a lot more bigger passes first from goalkeepers.
Right. And from where I am, there are a lot of Manchester United fans. So you've worked with Ben Amos, who's I think made an appearance for United. So can you tell us what it's like working with him? What's your experience been like?
You know what? I really can't speak highly enough of Ben as a professional, just as a guy as well. I mean, again, I kind of had 6 or 7 months with him when I worked with Jack with the first team, and just an ultimate professional, a fantastic guy. Or supported the goalkeeping group magnificently well. Obviously, he was a little bit more of an experienced goalkeeper when Sam was the number one for us. So again, I imagine for Sam, he was a great sounding board, but always trained well, always gave his all. He was excellent in the gym whenever we spoke to any staff or I saw him in there. He was always on the treadmill whenever I saw him. But no, just a great guy, really good human. And that was so important for the group at the time, because it's such a young group and still is a young group now. But again, they've been guided by some amazing coaches, an amazing coach now, and manager and first team coaches. So yeah, I think he was so important at the time. But yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Ben.
Well, I think that again reiterates your point of intensity being a key factor in, having people reach a certain level. So now we'll conclude with a fun question. So if you could create your dream goalkeeper by combining traits from any 3 goalkeepers you've worked with or admired, who would they be and what would each one contribute?
Oh, yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, it'd be Sam. Sam is a no-brainer. I think he's out of possession in general. So obviously, then you look at shot stopping, one action saves, all of them kind of above. I think he's an outstanding goalkeeper. So I think definitely kind of the shot stopping and the out of possession stuff. I definitely go with him. So I had Tommy I had Tommy on loan for six months roughly when I was at Fylde. Again, a fantastic character, brilliant lad. But again, he had a really good story. He wasn't a goalkeeper until 14, and then all of a sudden became a goalkeeper quite late on in his youth journey. And again, so obviously he brought to the table all his in possession skill. His range of passing was exceptional, and his ability to play out when we needed to, and also the ability for him to play out into the space. I think definitely him in possession was excellent, which was top. And then I would say the other boy who's just representing England as well, the Nick Mikalski, it would be in his intensity. He's the one who kind of really opened my eyes to how important that is. And again, Nick's got some amazing coaches around him now and had some brilliant coaches previously. But again, just the one thing that stuck out to me from Nick was his intensity. So again, it would be doing extras. Can we do this? Can we come and have 10 minutes? Can we have 15 minutes? Or what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Just the questions, but questions with meaning and questions with understanding. And he had a lot behind the eyes, and he was a very intelligent man. And it's great to see him doing amazingly well. Again, like I said, I played at such a minute, if anything, part in his journey. But actually, he gave me a real good barometer of where he was and what that looks like at that age when I first met him. But yeah, he's obviously an outstanding young keeper who's doing really well for himself. But I'd definitely take his intensity as my 3 characteristics.
Jan, this was amazing. I thank you for your time, and I think for all the goalkeepers who are watching this video, I think for them the key message is that for all the small things that you do, all the tiny detail, that's what matters, because after all, intensity is what you have said is what sets goalkeepers apart. So yes, brilliant. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, pleasure.